Hello. Hi, Hazel. Oh,
Helen's not quite there yet. She's
Helen's
not
not here. I'm
connected
checking.
to audio. Few people have had trouble connecting to audio today, actually. So
Oh,
I don't
really?
think Helen will be able to hear us at the minute, 'cause it doesn't look to me like she's connected to audio. Oh, there she's trying
Oh,
again. So just let her see if she can connect, and then we can get going.
okay.
There we go.
And
Right,
Jackie's
we're
in.
done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming today. There might be a few more people joining, but we'll make a start. So as you all know, I'm Vanessa. I'm a homeopath, and I specialize in helping women with hormonal issues and women's health issues. And this is Sue, who is a nutritionist, and she's the sugar-free coach. So, Sue, over to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Vanessa. So I'm going to just share my screen, but before I do, I'll just tell you a little bit more about me. So as Vanessa said, I'm the sugar-free coach. I work with women to empower them to break their addiction to sugar, or to reduce their consumption of sugar so that they can live a full and vibrant life, basically, because sugar does have an impact on us on a day-to-day basis. I've been in the wellness industry for 22 years now, which I find slightly frightening. And I'm absolutely passionate about just breaking through some of the myths that there are out there in 21st century life about our hormones, about weight management, and all that kind of thing. So I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey today to help you understand a little bit more about what's going on with your hormones and how you can take back control, basically. So I'm just going to share my screen. If you do have any questions, put them in the chat box. I can't see the chat box, so I will happily come back and answer them at the end if there's any questions that you want answered, basically. So we are going to discuss how to navigate your hormonal challenges and regain control of your hormones for vitality and health. And I'm going to give you 3 simple steps that you can take really right now to start making some changes as far as your health is concerned to improve your hormone balance. Everything we do at the end of the day, 80% of what we do, whether we are looking to balance our hormones, whether we're looking to manage our weight, it all comes down to the food that we are consuming and what is going on in our body. So I'm going to just talk through a lot of these things this evening. So let's get going. If I'm going to make my slides move on. Okay, so hormones. Let's just understand a little bit more about hormones first of all. They give instructions to our cells. Okay, so we have the hypothalamus and the pituitary are the kind of conductors of the whole orchestra. The hypothalamus will tell the pituitary to release certain hormones that will then tell our organs, whether it's our ovaries, whether it's our adrenal glands, whatever, to release hormones in response to what the brain is telling the hypothalamus, what the hypothalamus is telling pituitary, basically. Now, there are a number of hormones. There's a whole series of hormones that will cascade down on each other as we go through life. But the ones obviously you're here to understand a little bit more about tonight are estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, because those are the ones that have an impact on us on a day-to-day basis. Well, we think they do, but there's a lot more to it than that. Okay. They are what's known as steroid hormones. So they're made up of essential fats and vitamin D. Okay. Now, one of the things in 21st century life that we have been told for years is that we should be low fat. And this is one of the biggest issues when it comes to balancing particularly our estrogen and progesterone. Because we're low fat, because we've eaten low fat for such a long time, it's taken away the raw materials that the body needs to be able to create those hormones. So that's the first thing that's having an impact on our balance of estrogen and progesterone, and particularly on our menopause, or our how our hormones are progressing as we go through the latter stages of life. I say the latter stages of life, the mid stage of life. Let's talk about it, the mid stage of life, 40 onwards, basically. We also have other hormones that are protein-based hormones. Insulin, the blood sugar hormone, growth hormone HGH, which is the growth hormone that helps the body repair, thyroxine. All of these hormones, there's 2 other hormones that will tell us we're either hungry or full, ghrelin and leptin. They are hormones that are made up of proteins. Okay, they need good quality proteins in your diet to be able to be produced. Okay, and all of these hormones need a healthy liver. So they need the liver working effectively, because the liver creates all the raw materials for these hormones to be produced in the first instance. Estrogen is the primary female sex hormone, basically. As I said, it's a steroid hormone. It's the hormone that makes us feel slightly agitated, slightly anxious as it rises in the system towards the end of the cycle. So what happens with your cycle is your estrogen will rise in the first kind of 2 weeks of a cycle. Even if you don't have a cycle anymore, this still goes on, but at a much more muted level. Estrogen will rise for 2 weeks, and then it'll peak and it'll drop off as progesterone starts to be produced. Progesterone is produced by the corpus luteum, which is the sac that covers the egg. Now, as I say, if you've gone through menopause, you won't be producing the egg, so you won't have anywhere near as much progesterone. Progesterone is the hormone that allows us to stay calm, that reduces that anxiety. Estrogen and progesterone are like the yin and yang of hormones. We need both of them in certain amounts. And as we go through from 40 onwards, we go through perimenopause and into menopause, those hormones are dropping off quite significantly. And our adrenal cortex starts to take over the production of estrogen and progesterone. So as the ovaries stop producing the estrogen and progesterone, so the adrenals will start to produce those two hormones. So this is why even if you've come out the other side of menopause and you're not having a bleed anymore, you still do have a bit of a cycle over a 5 to 6 week period. It would be interesting. I do this all the time. I track. I don't have a cycle anymore, but I do know where I am in my cycle, if that makes sense, because I know when my mood might be a little bit lower. I know when I might be craving sort of comfort foods. I know when I feel a bit bloated or uncomfortable. All of those signs that I'm kind of pre-menstrual, signs you used to see when you were younger, they're there still, because you still have that bit of a cycle, even though you're not bleeding, even though you're the drop of progesterone and the rise of estrogen again doesn't activate the release of the lining of the wall of the womb, because that's what happens when you bleed. The estrogen is a hormone that creates and builds the wall of the womb, so that when the egg is released, it can embed into the wall of the womb and can be fertilized. And when we stop releasing an egg, so that process doesn't happen, so we don't bleed anymore, because the estrogen isn't strong enough to be able to build the wall of the womb, basically. Testosterone we do have it in women, but we only have about 15% compared to men. It's the hormone that makes us feel really good. It makes us feel really powerful. It makes us feel kind of like on top of the world, if you like. And obviously it drops off as we go through menopause and out the other side. And it is essential for particularly bone strength, which is why one of the reasons why a lot of women might see either osteopenia or osteoporosis as they move through their menopause years, because their testosterone levels have dropped off. There's lots more to it than that, but that's just to help you understand what those three hormones are really important for as far as our hormonal well-being is concerned. As I said already, they're steroid hormones. They need good quality fats. Now, one of the biggest issues that we are experiencing in 21st century life is the fact that we are exposed to chemical estrogens. We're called xenoestrogens. And these estrogens basically mimic the production of estrogen in the body, or they mimic estrogen. So what estrogen will do when it's high in the system, it will lock onto the estrogen receptors on the cells and communicate with the cells to start replicating. Okay, and that's what estrogen is designed to do, because it's the hormone that's used to help the fetus grow. As I said already, it's the hormone that's used to help the lining of the wall of the womb to grow before an egg is fertilized. Now, these chemical estrogens that we're exposed to in 21st century life, that we see in fertilizers, sometimes in skincare, sometimes in the water that we're drinking, these chemical estrogens, fertilizers, pesticides that are sprayed onto food, some of the household cleaners that we're using contain these chemical estrogens. And when we breathe them in, they then start to take on the sort of, they mimic estrogen in the system, basically, and they lock into the estrogen receptors on the cells, but they scramble the message that those estrogen receptors are receiving, and they start to cause the duplication of the wrong cells, basically. And this is where that you see, and I'm not going down that road, but this is where we can see some cancers forming, particularly ones that are related to the female reproductive system. So chemical estrogens are a real threat to us, our well-being as women, but not just women, it can be seen in men as well. Men with larger breasts these days, with weight gain around the middle, all of these can be chemical estrogen related conditions, and conditions where the body is starting to receive the message that there's more estrogen in the system. Estrogen is a fat storing hormone. If the body's receiving a message from these chemical estrogens to store more fat, we can start to put on weight around the middle as well. So this exposure to these chemical estrogens is something that we really need to keep on top of. And I know it feels a bit like doom and gloom, but actually we can keep on top of it. We can do something about it. We just need to know what to do about it, basically. And that's hopefully what I'm going to help you understand a little bit more about tonight. As you pass through your menopause years, your natural estrogen and progesterone drops off. So you can see here, as a young adult, your estrogen and progesterone is rising. It stays high through your fertile years and in early menopause, perimenopause, and then it begins to drop off. Progesterone being the first one to drop off, and then estrogen following suit. But unfortunately, as we're exposed to so many chemical estrogens in 21st century life, that blue line often is kept high, artificially high, because the body's still perceiving that there is estrogen in the system. So what can we do to help ourselves when we are exposed to chemical estrogens on a day-to-day basis? How can we get our hormones back into balance effectively and naturally? Because that's what we want to do, basically, and it is easy to do. The first place we need to start is to get rid of those chemical estrogens out of our system. They are scrambling the messages, basically. So the first thing we need to understand when we want to get our hormones back into balance, when we want to nourish our body and get our hormonal balance or hormonal health where it should be, is we need a healthy liver and intestine. So your liver is the main detoxification organ, and it clears all those chemical estrogens out of your system on a day-to-day basis. However, there are a number of things that are compromising the liver. Stress compromises the liver. Caffeine, alcohol, all of these things compromise the liver. Things that we reach for in order to try and help us stay calm in 21st century life are the things that are actually aggravating how we feel. The liver is a really emotional organ, and if it's compromised, it can come out as feeling irritable, as feeling lethargic, as not feeling 100%. So we want to support the liver as much as possible. The liver does its main detoxification through the night. It has two stages of detoxification. The first stage is it needs good quality proteins, good quality amino acids to help basically split the toxins. And then we use antioxidants to bind to those toxins to clear them out of the system. That's in a simplified way. And that happens through the night. Now, if you're waking between 1 and 3, that is a sign that your liver is not functioning effectively, because your liver will detoxify through the night. Between 1 and 3 is the main time for liver detoxification to take place. And if it's struggling, if the liver is struggling to detoxify, it will bring you into a lighter phase of sleep. It will demand the heart to beat faster in order to help it do the detoxification. And that brings you into a lighter phase of sleep. Your metabolism lifts a little bit, and it's harder to go back to sleep because you can't get back into that kind of soporific sleepy state that you were in when you first went to bed. So if you are someone that struggles with your sleep, that is a sign that your liver is struggling to function. If you have bags under your eyes, that is a sign that your liver is struggling to function. If you constantly feel bloated, that again is a sign that your liver needs some TLC. Your liver can performs over 500 different functions in the body. So it has a role to play not only in hormone balance, it has a role to play in the conversion of triglycerides back into glucose for energy production, but equally as much, the conversion of excess glucose into triglycerides to store as fat. It has a role to play in the detoxification, as already talked about, in creating the hormones. It has a role to play in converting the inactive form of thyroxine into thyroxine. It has a role to play in converting your vitamin D into an active form. It's got a massive role to play in the body. But it struggles in 21st century life because we're exposed to so many toxins, it's overloaded. So what we can see, many menopausal women will be experiencing what's known as a sluggish liver, a condition that is not by any stretch of the imagination, not irreversible, it's absolutely reversible. And it isn't something that we need to kind of go, oh my God, it's a disaster. I'm gonna end up having to take loads of medication for it. When we know how to manage it, the liver actually can regrow itself. It can repair itself. It's the only organ in the body that can do that. That's how important it is. So when we nourish the liver and give the liver the TLC that it needs, it really can repair itself. But we're putting it under a lot of stress in 21st century life. So we want to be able to clean it up, and we want to be able to give it the TLC that it needs. And once it can detoxify effectively and get rid of these chemical estrogens out of the system, then we want the intestine to be working properly so that it can flush all these chemicals out of the body. Now, many people don't drink enough water on a day-to-day basis, which has an impact on the motility of the waste through our intestine. We want our intestine moving waste at least twice a day in order to be able to clear these toxins out of the body that the liver is trying to get rid of. If our waste through our intestine is slow and sluggish, what can happen is we can reabsorb some of these toxins and they just kind of get recycled into the system again. And also we have all this bacteria that lives in our intestine called the microbiome. We want those gut bacteria to be really strong and really healthy because they will act as a barrier to prevent toxins being absorbed in the first place. So you want a good, healthy intestine, a healthy functioning intestine with waste being moved through once, twice a day, so that we know that we're expelling these toxins out of the system. We want a healthy, functioning gut bacteria to prevent those toxins being absorbed from the food that we're consuming, again, in the first place. Many people in 21st century life struggle with IBS, struggle with slow motility, all signs that the intestine is not working effectively. So we want to give both our intestine and our liver lots of love in order to be able to get on top of where our hormones are in the first instance. So how do we do that? What do we do? To support the liver and intestine, first thing you want to think about is green food. In Chinese medicine, the liver is a green organ. So it thrives on the more green food you consume. Spinach, broccoli, all the cruciferous vegetables, basically, all of the dark green leafy vegetables, all the dark fruits. All of those will provide the antioxidants for that second stage of liver detoxification to be able to clear those chemicals out of the system. But also the other thing that green foods contain are lots of fiber. And fiber is really important because fiber is what binds to the toxins when they're in the intestine and flushes them out of the intestine. But also that fiber will help to keep the waste moving through effectively. And it will act as a prebiotic to feed all the good bacteria in your intestine. Mother Nature is really clever. When we eat in a natural way, it really does support the body. If the more green food we can get on our plate, every meal should contain some either green or dark food in order to keep love our liver and keep our intestine moving through effectively, keep the waste moving through our intestine as effectively as possible. We want to reduce alcohol and caffeine consumption because it compromises the liver's ability to be able to work. If the liver has to clear alcohol out of the system, it can't then concentrate on clearing the chemical estrogens out of the system. If the liver is always metabolizing caffeine, it can't convert the inactive form of thyroxine into the active form of thyroxine to boost our metabolism. So we end up feeling more sluggish than we would do if we weren't drinking the caffeine in the first place. But because we feel sluggish, we reach for more caffeine, which compromises the liver even further, which means the liver can't do the job it needs to do as far as our hormone balance is concerned. And remember, the liver is the main organ that creates those raw materials to get your hormones where they need to be to keep them balanced. So we want to reduce our alcohol and caffeine. Often what we do is we reach for alcohol and caffeine because it's the thing that helps us get through, but actually it's the thing that's compromising our ability to get through without having alcohol and caffeine. Drinking plenty of water to make sure that waste is moving through the intestine as effectively as possible, and trying where possible to reduce our gluten and dairy because both of those compromise the gut bacteria's ability to work. And this is a bit of a whistle-stop tour through the kind of things you need to be thinking about. But there's certainly some things there that you could go, well, okay, I need to make sure that I've got green food on every meal because I know that if I'm having green food with every meal, I'm feeding my gut bacteria, I'm providing the fibers to clear those toxins out. I might look at kind of going, 5 nights a week where I'm not drinking alcohol. I might try and reduce my coffee down by 1 cup a day, so I get down to just 1 cup a day rather than 5. You know, I'm only plucking numbers out of the air there, but that's what I see with a lot of my clients all the time. You know, they're drinking 5 cups of coffee a day because they're feeling like they need it to keep them going, but actually it's the thing that is causing them to feel less energized, basically. Sorry, I wasn't being rude. I'm looking at my watch there, but it's just beeping at me for some reason. I don't know why, so I was trying to stop it. So eating lots of green food, feeding that gut bacteria with the good prebiotics and the fibers in the food that we're consuming, aiming to reduce our alcohol and caffeine down if you're drinking either of those on a day-to-day basis, aiming to drink more water, try and get it up to 2 litres, and reducing down your gluten and dairy because they do compromise the gut bacteria. Now, your second fact or second thing that you need to think about is getting your blood sugars balanced. Bear with me a second. Sorry if I'm talking a bit fast. I just get so passionate about these subjects and helping women to really understand how they can make some changes in their life. I kind of find myself almost kind of blurting it out as fast as I can because I want to get all the information to you and share it with you as much as possible. So fact number 2 is blood sugars and getting our blood sugars balanced, getting our insulin balanced. Now, insulin is a really dominant hormone and it will steal from all the other hormones, or it will dominate all the other hormones. So if we have unbalanced blood sugars, if we have blood sugars that peak in the morning and then crash, when they crash, we feel tired, we feel lethargic, we want to reach for more sugar because the body is kind of going, we haven't got enough glucose in the system, eat some more glucose. We reach for more sugar, our blood sugars spike again, and then they crash. We haven't got enough glucose in the system, so we reach for more sugar, and we're finding ourselves snacking throughout the day. Now, if insulin is high, basically, without kind of going into too much detail, when you've got unbalanced blood sugars and insulin is high in the system, you start to create quite a bit of inflammation in the body. And inflammation is something that in some circumstances is important and is good. So if you cut your finger, for example, you get a little bit of inflammation around it, and that's to stop things passing across that cut. But if you get inflammation that is caused by stress in the system, which is what happens when blood sugars are all over the place and they're peaking and troughing and peaking and troughing, inflammation starts to cause, and that's what's known as systemic inflammation. It's deep down inflammation that starts to create its own kind of little ecosystem, if you like, of hormones that are developed. Hormones that tell us we're more hungry than we actually are, hormones that prevent us from ever feeling full, hormones that will steal from estrogen and progesterone. And most importantly, what unbalanced blood sugars do is it impacts the adrenal glands. That stress that is caused by the inflammation will lead to the production of a hormone called cortisol. And cortisol is a hormone that is released when we are in a stressed state internally. And if cortisol is high and insulin is high, those two hormones together are like the ugly sisters of the hormone world. They will block your body's ability to burn fat for fuel, and they will also lead to the storage of more fat. So we see weight gain around the middle. That weight around the middle gain has its own little ecosystem and starts to release hormones that tell us we're hungry, even more hungry, etc., etc. And so it goes on, basically. So that has a knock-on effect. That inflammation and that high cortisol and high insulin has a knock-on effect to how the body is functioning internally and how we feel externally, because anything that's going on internally comes out as external emotion. So, you know, if your body's inflamed and stressed, you come out as not being able to deal with stress externally. But more importantly, what happens is if cortisol is high in the system, if you remember I said estrogen and progesterone, when the ovaries are no longer producing them, starts to be produced by the adrenal cortex. And the adrenal cortex is kind of the lining that coats the adrenal gland, basically. And when cortisol is high, because cortisol is made up of the same raw materials as estrogen and progesterone, if cortisol is high, the adrenal cortex won't produce any estrogen and progesterone. So our already declining estrogen and progesterone basically drops off a cliff. And the body starts to scream at us and say, we need more estrogen, we need more estrogen. And that's when we start to get hot flushes and other menopausal symptoms coming to the surface. So we can get on top of a lot of our hormone issues if we get our blood sugars balanced, because when our blood sugars are balanced and when insulin is balanced, we can reduce that stress in the body. So we can reduce the impact on our adrenal glands, which means we can start producing more estrogen and progesterone again from the adrenal cortex and bring a lot of those issues that we're dealing with in 21st century life under control. And also when stress is high in the body, it's a stress on the liver, and the liver again still then can't clear out the chemical estrogens that it needs to clear out. So having balanced blood sugars, whilst you think, is that related? How is that related to my menopause symptoms? It absolutely is related to your menopause symptoms. Getting your blood sugars balanced, getting insulin balanced will have a huge knock-on effect to your menopause. One of the things I do with my clients is I take them through a 4-week program of eradicating sugar for 4 weeks. And almost without fail, every single client that goes through that will say to me, the menopause symptoms have almost disappeared completely. And that's because when your blood sugars are under control, that has a knock-on effect to how your body copes with the whole menopause situation, but also how the hormones, how estrogen and progesterone are balanced. So how can we get our blood sugars balanced? The first thing to think about is having protein for breakfast. We have been sold a lie in the Western world for a long, long time that we need to eat cereal or toast for breakfast, mainly because it's quick and easy. We've been told a lie that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It absolutely isn't the most important meal of the day. The most important meal of the day is the first meal that you eat that is full of protein. Because first thing in the morning, your stomach is full of hydrochloric acid. And hydrochloric acid isn't designed to break down carbohydrates, it's designed to break down protein. If you have a carbohydrate-based breakfast like cereal or toast, that hydrochloric acid will break that down really quickly and release sugars into your bloodstream really quickly. And so what ends up happening is your blood sugars spike really quickly. You have your insulin is released to pick those sugars up and take them out of the bloodstream and take it to the cells for energy production. If we're more sedentary and when the cells don't need the energy, the insulin takes the sugars and takes it to the liver, and the liver converts it to glycogen and stores it, which puts more pressure on the liver. If we eat protein for breakfast, protein breaks down really slowly in the hydrochloric acid, which means we have a much more slow release of glucose into the bloodstream and a much slower release of insulin, which means we then got consistent energy through the course of the morning. We've got a constant supply of steady glucose for our mitochondria in the cells to produce the energy, and we're not having this spike and this crash. If you're hungry by 10:30 in the morning, what you ate at breakfast time has spiked your blood sugars and they've crashed again. So you want to look at your breakfast. It is the most important meal of the day in terms of it balancing our blood sugars. It doesn't have to be breakfast necessarily. It's the first meal of the day. You might be someone who doesn't want to eat breakfast and your first meal of the day is lunch. And if that is the case, still the same principles apply. You need to eat good quality protein to get your insulin really nicely balanced for the rest of the day. You want to fill your plate with colours because all those colours will help. So when I talk about colours, I'm talking about the carbs that are colourful, like the cruciferous vegetables that I've already mentioned, all the fruits, anything basically that's got colour in it. All of those carbs are really, really beneficial to the body. They will release glucose really slowly, and they will keep our blood sugars really steady and really stable. They won't put an impact on the liver by expecting the liver to store glycogen, and they will nourish the body with lots of antioxidants that help to reduce all that inflammation that has been caused by having these big blood sugar swings when cortisol is up and down and up and down, and the body is stressed internally. So filling your plate with colours, again, helps to balance your blood sugars. Try not to snack between meals. When you snack between meals, it pushes your insulin up and it crashes again. It pushes up and crashes. What you want is to be able to go from one meal to the next without needing to snack. If you need to snack, your meal is not keeping your blood sugars balanced. You want to be able to go for about 4 hours without needing to snack. That's a good sign that your blood sugars are really nice and stable and balanced. And when your blood sugars are balanced, that has a knock-on effect to inflammation internally, has a knock-on effect to how effective the liver is at storing the glycogen. or releasing glycogen and converting triglycerides back into glucose for energy production. When your blood sugars are really stable, your hormones really do come back into balance. Like I said, most of the clients I take through a reduced sugar program will report that their menopause symptoms have almost gone. Try and walk after you've eaten. That uses up some of the energy and it helps to give the insulin a purpose, so that then the mitochondria can burn some energy, and then you're keeping your insulin levels nice and steady. And try and eat by 7 o'clock. The main reason for eating by 7 o'clock is that when you go to bed, if you go to bed at 10, your insulin levels are on the way down, and you can then go into a much deeper quality sleep. If insulin is high in the system, it will impact your ability to be able to go to sleep. If you're not sleeping properly, the liver can't do the job it needs to do to clear those toxins out of the system. So eating by 7 means insulin is low enough for you to get into a deep sleep. If insulin is too high, we won't release growth hormone, and growth hormone is the hormone that we need to send us into deep quality restorative sleep, and sleep that allows the liver to detoxify effectively. So getting your blood sugar balancing your blood sugar is absolutely crucial to getting your hormones under control and being able to manage, whether it's menopause, whether it's perimenopause. It doesn't even need to be menopause. It could be puberty. It's the same for young girls as it is for those of us who are coming out the other end of that fertile cycle. If your blood sugars are unbalanced, it will have a knock-on effect to how your hormones function on a month-to-month basis. High insulin will have an impact on polycystic ovary syndrome. It will have an impact on so many different hormonal conditions. It has an impact on endometriosis. Insulin is a really dominant hormone, and when it's high in the system, that's when all these other hormones can be released that will aggravate the conditions like polycystic ovaries or endometriosis. So getting your blood sugars balanced is the second action. We want our liver and intestine to be working effectively. We want our insulin to be nice and stable. And then the third thing we need to do is detoxify on a fairly regular basis, probably once every 6 to 8 months. Now is a really good time of year to detoxify. The springtime, March, is a great time to give your liver lots of love and to help it clear rubbish out of the system, chemicals out of the system. But the most important thing here is that we don't want to diet, we don't want to restrict. We associate in 21st century life detoxifying as something that is really restrictive, that is really, like a juice detox or what have you. It should absolutely not be like that, because the liver needs nutrients and good, like I said, good quality proteins and antioxidants on a day-to-day basis to be able to do the job that it needs to do. If we detoxify using these really restrictive detox programs that are out there, that means we cannot actually detoxify, because we're not giving the liver what it needs to be able to remove these chemicals out of the system. What we need to do is we need to nourish the body and cleanse the body. So rather than talking about detoxification, we need to talk about cleansing. And believe me, everybody needs to cleanse. Bear with me a second. Everybody needs to give their liver that love and cleanse those chemicals out of our system, because we are exposed to so many of them on a day-to-day basis. If you are struggling with menopausal symptoms or struggling with any elements of your hormones not being in alignment, it's almost certainly because your liver is struggling to clear those chemicals that we're exposed to. It's thought that most women are exposed to about 500 different chemicals before they even leave the house in the morning. So it's really important to make sure that we are cleansing our system as much as possible, and basically supporting our liver on a day-to-day basis to do that detoxification, to cleanse process. So how do we do that? Well, there's some simple things that you can do. First of all, like I said, we need to be making sure that we're consuming lots of green foods, lots of fiber, lots of good quality amino acids, because those are what will help the liver detoxify. Those are the raw materials for the detoxification process to be effective. As I said, we don't want to restrict, because when we restrict, we're not getting the raw materials that are needed to cleanse the liver. So I would never advocate a juice cleanse or anything like that, simply because it doesn't provide the body with what it needs to be able to carry out that detoxification process, which is good quality amino acids from protein and lots of antioxidants from our green foods. And then all that fiber that is needed so that when the liver has cleared the toxins out of the system, the intestine can do its job, I'll get my words right in a minute, can bind the detoxified chemicals to fibers and flush them out of the system. So one of the first things you can do is have half a lemon squeezed into warm water first thing in the morning, just warm water, like body temperature water. And that will provide the antioxidants for that second stage of detoxification to flush everything through and to get to clear out the system. It's lemon water first thing in the morning is very supportive to your liver. It helps to reduce bloating. It helps to improve the digestive process, but it really helps the liver to detoxify. Everyone should be taking a lemon water first thing in the morning, just to give their liver that love that it needs. And then we need lots of green foods and plenty of fiber, as I said, for those toxins to bind to the fibers and be flushed out of the system. Drinking plenty of water throughout the day as well, and eating a really balanced, good quality, colourful diet of good quality proteins, palm-sized piece of protein, and as many colours on your plate as you can fit. Avoiding the sugar, avoiding the caffeine, removing the things that are going to stress the liver, but allow then the liver to kind of do the job it needs to do by giving it all the nutrients that it needs. And then you can follow the Nourish and Nurture program, which is a program that Vanessa is just about to introduce into her business. So I'm going to hand over to Vanessa now, and she's just going to tell you a little bit more about the Nourish and Nurture program. So Vanessa, if you want to unmute yourself, and I'll hand you over.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sue. That was really interesting. Thank you. So the Nourish and Nurture program is a 28-day program, which is starting on the 11th of March. And it focuses on nourishing the body with good food for 28 days, and also making small lifestyle changes as you go, which are sustainable. It's a gentle cleanse, like a mini reset. So the plan is to go gentle, starting with where you're at and just making little tweaks along the way, so that by the end of the 28 days, you'll be thinking more about what you're eating. You'll be drinking more water, so you'll be better hydrated. You'll be sleeping better, and hopefully you'll be moving more as well. The progress is individual because everybody will be starting at where they are now. Some people will be further along the road than others. And it will be supported by a WhatsApp group. So everybody who enrolls in the course will be in the same WhatsApp group. And I'll be popping in daily and supporting you, motivating you, giving you ideas. It's also, there's a small handbook which comes with guidelines, and some sample recipes and that sort of thing that you can try. So in week 1, what we'll be focusing on is what you're eating. And we're looking at 80% of the time. So you will be able to relax it maybe at weekends if you want to. Some people do, some people don't. So it's aiming at reducing the caffeine and alcohol and sugar, as Sue's already said, and also reducing the amount of beige foods like pasta, bread and potato, which really don't have any nutritional value. So we're looking at good nutritional foods for you to have. And as Sue's already said, looking at introducing protein at every meal, and also adding the colour onto your plate. I think I read somewhere recently that they recommend 30 different colours or 30 different fruit and vegetables a week. So increasing that as we go along. And then in week 2, we'll be looking more, adding on to that will be water, increasing your water intake. So as Sue said, the aim is to get to 2 litres, but it will just be gradually increasing from where you're at. When you start, maybe increasing it by a glass, half a glass a day. And also looking at portion control, and the snacks that you're eating, and the size of your meals. And during this time, you can also get to know what foods are working for you and are keeping you full for the 4 hours, and which foods just don't work for you because you're hungry within an hour. So ditching those foods and going for the ones that work with you. And then week 3, we're going to be looking at prioritizing sleep. So we'll be looking at nighttime routines and also the morning routine as well, and prioritizing going to bed a little bit earlier that week. And then week 4, we're going to be looking at moving more. So increasing your daily steps, getting out in nature, and just nurturing yourself, mindfulness and that sort of thing as well. We put into that. So the program's designed to create accountability, because when we hold ourselves accountable to someone else, we're 95% more likely to achieve success. As I said, there's going to be a WhatsApp group with daily support and motivation, and I'll encourage you to post pictures of what you've eaten and that sort of thing, and so we can support each other. It's a place to ask for help if you're struggling, and it'll obviously be peer support as well. And it's going to be fun, supportive, and motivating. And if you follow the guidelines, you should come out the other side of the 28-day mini reset feeling happier, healthier, leaner, and lighter. So yeah,
And I think it's a really nice program that sits alongside the treatments that you do, Vanessa, to help someone really kind of get the most out of the treatments that you're working with someone as well. When someone's coming to you for to treat a specific problem, by then focusing on getting the liver working properly and nourishing the body, you can really get even better results, can't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
It
also includes, should I just explain the 2 supplements?
Yeah, please do.
Well? Yeah, it also includes 2 supplements, a magnesium supplement that is designed to, which is full of fiber. It has apple pectin and prune powder in it, and it's designed to support the intestine and move the waste through the intestine. But it's also very good. It's a really good magnesium for sleep. It helps with sleep. And I think some of that will be to do with the fact that magnesium is an important supplement or a nutrient for sleep, but it also will be to do with the fact that your liver is working more effectively because there's all this fiber from this supplement that's helping to clear those toxins out of the system. So you've got a magnesium supplement, and you've also got a chlorophyll supplement called Phytolife, which is just a cordial that you add to water. So that helps you to drink more water. But chlorophyll is very effective at drawing toxins out of the body and clearing them out of the system. And it creates a really nice alkaline environment in the body. As I said earlier, the liver is a green organ in Chinese medicine. So this green supplement, it's just a minty tasting supplement that you add to water, a couple of teaspoons to water twice a day. This will help to draw those toxins out of the system. And then the magnesium supplement, what's called Body Prime, will attach to those toxins and clear them out of the system. So the 2 together work really well to support the liver and intestine and build on the work that you're doing from a reducing caffeine and alcohol, from improving and in building on your food, and increasing the amount of colours on your plate, and also then helping you to sleep better and reduce those hormonal issues that you might be dealing with on a daily basis.
And it does taste quite nice, actually. I've tasted the Phytolife, yeah, and it's quite palatable.
It's very refreshing, I think, and it's especially when the weather's warm as well. It's a really nice drink to have when the weather's warm. So, and as I said earlier, the spring is a really good time to cleanse the liver and kind of give the liver lots of love and kind of give it that opportunity to nourish it and to grow into kind of, if you think about spring being new life, that's what you can do when you cleanse the liver. You can kind of breathe new life into your liver function, basically. Do you want to move on?
Yeah, shall we?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is about the course, which is starting on the Monday, the 11th of March, if anybody is interested. There are only 4 places available, and the closing date is the 5th of March, which is next Tuesday. purely because I need time to actually order your supplements in and get them to you. So there's an early bird price of £99 for anybody who's interested, who wants to book by Friday evening. And otherwise it goes up to 125, but the last day for booking is the 5th of March, so that I've got time. And then what I will do after that is, if anyone's interested, we'll get in touch, get you to fill in a simple questionnaire, and get you onto a WhatsApp group, and then we will all start together on the 5th of March. Any questions or anything that anyone's got?
I stop the share. Because everybody knows your email address, don't they, Vanessa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions about anything that Sue said, or anything you want to ask? I don't know why I'm in darkness so much, actually. I do apologise.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm the opposite. I'm completely bright with all the lights above me. So is everyone okay? Everyone's clear on what we went through? We have recorded it, so if you want to listen through again, you can do. Sometimes it's because I went through things quite fast. It can be good to just listen to it again, so that you can just take it on board. So yeah.
Yeah, I will send the link to everybody again who wants to have a listen and make notes of anything. Yeah.
Brilliant.
It was very interesting. Thank you very much.
Good. Well done, Hazel. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us live as well. We appreciate it.
Yeah. And Hazel, have you got any questions or anything you want to ask? Or
well, what would your tips be for breakfast? Because I normally have porridge.
Do you find that you get hungry, or do you find that porridge keeps you full?
Well, I was going to say I have a kefir shake first with goat's kefir, and then I have, about 20 minutes later, then I have porridge. Most of the time it does, but there are days when it doesn't.
You might want to tweak it. So when you said porridge, how do you have it? Just oats?
Yes.
Yeah. So you might want to add some seeds and nuts to it, to add a little bit of protein to it, and maybe put some colour on it, like some blueberries, and see see how that makes you feel. It depends whether you're a sweet or a savoury person at breakfast time. I like a sweeter breakfast. I'm not really a savoury person, so I will have full fat Greek yogurt with seeds and nuts and blueberries, and some flaxseed and some chia seed. And that will keep me full for hours. So it really depends on, if you're someone who doesn't mind savoury, you can go with scrambled eggs with avocado. You could go with an omelette. You know, there's all sorts of things that you go for that give you a protein-based breakfast. Porridge is a bit individual. For some people, they can have porridge and it will spike their blood sugars. For other people, it doesn't. So it depends on how your body responds to sugar first thing in the morning. And as I say, if it's full of hydrochloric acids, so for some people it will break down really quickly, and for others, there isn't a one size fits all when it comes to the food. We have to listen to what our body's telling us. And the easiest way to do that is to kind of go 2.5 hours after I've eaten. How do I feel? Do I feel lethargic? Do I feel bloated? Do I feel sluggish? If I do I feel hungry? If I do, then what I've eaten at breakfast time hasn't worked for me. So I need to switch it up. I need to change it. And that's what you'll learn from the course is kind of what foods are working for you and what foods don't work for you, in order to be able to really get your blood sugars balanced, and as a result have a knock-on effect to getting your hormones better balanced as well, and just feeling brighter and better in yourself.
It's quite interesting. I do put seeds and things on it as well, and blueberries and sometimes raspberries, but maybe I don't always, or I don't have enough. So I'll keep a note on the days when it spikes a bit in the morning and see what I did actually have.
See if you did anything different.
It's interesting. Thank you very much.
It is really interesting when you start to listen to how your body responds to the food that we're eating. It's really interesting. But in 21st century life, we've stopped listening to it. We really have. So we've stopped listening to the messages our body's telling us. So when we get back in touch with what our body's telling us, we can really kind of create a meal plan, if you like, that works for us and our body, and to keep our blood sugars balanced.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, anybody else got any questions or anything?
I think we're all right.
Oh,
maybe they would have put them in the chat if there were questions, I guess.
Brilliant, thank you.
Well, just to say thank you everybody for joining us live. We do appreciate it, don't we, Vanessa?
Yeah, thank you. And I'll send you the recording.
Yeah, and if anyone's got any further questions, you know where Vanessa is, just drop her a line and she can always get in touch with me as well.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.